So if you've been keeping up with this journey for quite a while now, you probably know that it's been quite a while where I've been on this path of like trying to memorize Quran. And I'm not gonna lie, the past few weeks have probably been the hardest I fell off this journey in a while. Just with like working, traveling, and then getting ill, a lot of different stuff just like hit me at once, and my memorization took a big hit. And I think it's really relatable where a lot of people might look back and kind of see points in their life where they didn't realize it, but at that point they were making such good progress on their goals. They were, doing everything right, apparently. And then you're at this point now where you're kind of looking back in nostalgia, like, oh, I wish I could kind of go back to that point. And the thing about memorization, it's like that feeling, but even more because you lose your memorization way quicker than you lose other things. Just a few days without memorizing, I've already forgotten a lot of maybe pages that were so firm in my memory at one point. Because in the beginning, a lot of what I thought about memorization is like once you memorize something, you're done. Like it's just gonna stay in your memory. You just need to do it one time and then you're set for life. And that may be the first few solas you memorize because they're really short and it's just you're not holding on to a lot of pages in general. So stay in your mind firmly. But the more you do it, you realize that's not the case the more you progress in your memorization. So now that I finally settled down on my routine, it really humbled me how much Quran like I've lost and how much I got to get back into rebuilding a skill. And at the same time with grappling with all this, I also got hit with the realization how fast time actually goes. It's not into the points where you're really down bad where maybe you just like looking through your camera roll, you see, wow, this was 5 years ago, or you see pictures of your friends and family. It's things that just seemed like they happened yesterday, but in reality, they were years and years ago. And it really just shines a light on how fast time actually goes by in our lives. So when you mix that with also the feeling of, oh man, I fell off my memorization, it really kind of woke me up that I need to get serious about this again. I can't just kind of autopilot through life saying, okay, I'll revise today and I only end up revising maybe 30 minutes or I might skip that day thinking that I have time. When in reality, if you just keep going throughout that pace, you might wake up and it's been 2 years and you never actually like genuinely tried. You never like gave it your all in terms of like chasing your goal. You've probably heard that like staying consistent is like 90% of whatever journey you're on. But at the same time, I feel like even when we are consistent, you tend to just do like consistently the base amount of level that you will do. You'll never really like push to do more. So what I mean by that is like I consistently basically memorize, revise for more so like the past year, almost 2 years now, every single day, but it was never at a level of intensity that I actually would want. Because yes, whatever goal you're chasing, you definitely need to start small and just kind of build that consistency. But after a while, the thing is you kind of need to up what you're getting used to. So if you've gotten used to just 30 minutes, 1 hour, and you've just stayed at that level of inputs for like years and years and years, the thing is you're capable of doing way more than that, but you're just kind of staying at that level. And when you think about it, like 90% of the reason we even got on this journey in the first place is to grow, is to do more and not just kind of stay at that base level. And sometimes I think like years have went by and I barely made progress on the goals I actually want. For example, like this Quran memorization, it's been years and I haven't made as much progress as I actually wanted to. And there's this one quote that actually speaks to this where it goes, life is actually long. We just waste most of it. And even in the Quran it says, أَوَلَمْ نُعَمَّرْهُمْ مَنْ تَذَكَّرَ فِي مَنْ تَذَكَّرَ وَجَاءَكُمُ النَّذِيرُ, which basically means that did we not give you like enough time? We gave people years and years to like figure this out, to find it out. We gave them so much time, but much of it was wasted. Much of it was just wasted doing the wrong things. Add on top of that a lot of people now are just really focused on adding years to their life, but not necessarily life to their years. Almost anywhere you look now, people are trying to live longer, stay youthful longer, all these things, but not a lot of people are actually adding life to the years that they are alive. And this is something that even I'm guilty of. How many times are you actually using the blessings that you have right now? Chances are, if you're watching this video, you're on my age, you're in your youth, you have access to technology, all this stuff. But how much of that time is actually being used correctly? How much are you actually like using that to put something good forward, to actually add, life to your years, to actually live? Because one big thing that I always get caught thinking sometimes is like, once I get to this point, then like life will actually start. I remember being in high school, like once I graduate high school or once I get my driver license or whatever, then, life will actually start. Once I get in shape, life will actually start here. Once I get a good income, then, life will start and I'll do this, this, and this. When in reality, even when you keep growing up, you keep saying that, right? I remember being like 15 thinking that, then 20 thinking that, and even times now where I'm thinking that, when in reality, like life started, you're in it right now. So right now is the time to actually behave and to actually like live in accordance with, who you want to be. Like when you're on that deathbed, what are you thinking that like you actually did? How is like you remembering yourself, the way you lived your life? And it's really these realizations, these events that happen to people that really kind of force you to take life seriously. So what my kind of goal in this is to give you that realization without maybe you having yet experienced it, or maybe you just being kind of on autopilot in your day-to-day life. Because there's multiple events that are placed in your life occasionally to kind of wake you up. Some of it is like the death of a friend, family member, even gray hairs appearing on your face. These are all signs that time is going. Time. You don't got that much time left to actually kind of remind yourself, like, what are you doing? And I got this realization just over the course of a few weeks, but at the same time, it kind of reminded me that like I'm underperforming so much on my goals. Specifically, I'm not gonna lie, specifically this Quran memorization goal. Because there's been so many times where, I mean, even the other day, like only like maybe 1 hour revising, 30 minutes revising, when when I wasn't even maybe as busy to the point where I couldn't revise, right? It really forces you to think like, how are you actually using your time? And honestly, one of the most like humbling things is when you memorize like big portions of the Quran and then you forget it and you're kind of in that state where you're just looking back like, wow, there was one point where I had all this like in my head, with memorized with strength. And then I'm just like right here now having to rebuild all this back up. And I know there's a lot of people watching this who are also in that same boat. And I would just say that it's never really too late to get started, especially if you realize like how valuable your time is. Because if me and you realize that, those times of just like doing whatever in the house, or scrolling your phone, watching TV, whatever your thing is, once you realize how valuable your time is, you won't really tolerate that. And you'll substitute it with maybe revising, with memorizing again. And then when you actually take control of your time like that, within no time, you can gain a lot of that memory back. You see, you might just be watching this and you have like other goals and stuff. But if you're someone who also memorizes Quran, you realize that this kind of goal is almost like it's like a mini game for how the rest of life actually is. So if you can kind of control this, if you can be on top of your memorization, your revision, the level of effort and like attention that requires allows you to be so good in every other aspect of your life. Because this isn't like something where like eating healthy or working out where you miss one day or 2 days or maybe even a week, but you can still kind of arrive at your goal of being healthy or being fit or whatever. This is like if you miss like a week, 2 weeks or 3 weeks, like you really have to go back so much further and actually start again. At the same time though, this is also one of the most satisfying goals to chase. I can't really explain to you the feeling of recovering like a 15-page long surah that you forgot and recovering and being able to go about it flawlessly for memorization with no mistakes. That feeling of building up to that again is the most rewarding and satisfying that I've honestly experienced in a while. And if you're not someone memorizing from the outside looking in, that sounds like really weird. But some of these principles you can just extract into every area of life, right? That it's way easier to just maintain than to go, on a high, then low, then fall off, then have to recover. There's really nothing like just maintaining. It makes it so much easier. It might not be like the nicest to say, or maybe the most pleasing to hear, but at all costs, try to avoid like falling off. Even though a lot of people may say take breaks, um, all this stuff, vacations, breaks, don't burn out and stuff like that. Maybe I'm just tweaking, maybe I'm tripping right now, but honestly, there's no better way to not just make progress in your goals, but not have that feeling of, oh, I got to start again or have that kind of loss of momentum than just maintaining. Even if you get in a really busy period of your life, you get sick, whatever happens, at least try to just maintain, in this case, for let's say memorizing Quran, maintain a little bit of revision. Because once you kind of lose the momentum and habits of a particular goal, not only do you lose like the traction, the speed that you were going at, but you also like emotionally kind of get set back. It takes like a few days to get back into the rhythm of memorizing. Then you kind of, lose that identity almost of like, oh, I'm a memorizer type thing. And you kind of have like to fall back into it, which takes another maybe like 1 month, 2 months to get back to where you were maybe just a few days ago. To be honest, I don't even really know the point of this video. I really just wanted to kind of lay out what's been on my mind the past few days and just the stuff that has kind of transpired and what it taught me about goal chasing as a whole, specifically in my kind of path to Quran memorization. But inshallah, that was a benefit. Assalamu alaikum.